Welcome, everybody. Today is Wednesday, November 20th, 2024, and this is the iBug Android Insight Call. I want to welcome everybody because in this call, we have fun. In this call, we support each other. So, as we all know, we discuss everything that is revolved around the Android platform. So whether you have a smartphone, an Android tablet, a Chromebook, a Pixel tablet, a Fire tablet, a Pixel phone, an Android phone by any brand, an Alexa device, a Fire TV, a Google device, we discuss all on this call. Everything is open. We're here to support each other. My name is Ava Caruth. I am one of your facilitators for this call, and I'm out of Houston, Texas, and my co-facilitator is Hershi.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Hershi. I'm coming out of Central Florida, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes, so let's do a little bit of housekeeping real quick. iBug is our sponsor, and if you have not joined iBug and this is your first call, you can go to ibugtoday.com and sign up for the mailing list, because iBug has several events that go on throughout the whole month. We're just one of them on the third Wednesday. Another one of the iBug events that's coming up this week is Friday Night Movie. So come and enjoy the movie. It's on the same Zoom link. So the movie this week is Space Odyssey. Come in and join. The movie starts at 8 o'clock, but at 7:30 they have the social hour. And come enjoy a great movie. Hershi, you want to announce what iBug has coming up for the end of the year?
Sure. So, we've had a lot of people that have joined us for months on in on the Android call, and as well with any of our Apple call, with the Buzz call, and so on and so forth. So, what's happening on December 21st, we do have a drawing for a Meta Ray-Ban glasses. And so, if you've been a part of our journey here thus far, please tune into ibugtoday.org, and you'll find some more information on our website about how to participate and get everything settled in. But there are some rules, and the show will take place on December 21st. So please do join us on 21st, and you do have to be there in person to, to claim the prize, so to speak. So thank you, Ava. That sounds exciting. I mean, I know you and I aren't able to partake, but man, we have so many listeners all the time that are always coming by. So I hope one of our constant listeners wins those glasses.
Yes, and if you don't know about the Ray-Ban smart glasses, they're the new glasses that came out around April or May that connect with your phone through the Meta app, and they do wonderful things. You're able to look and say, hey, Meta, look and describe, and it will describe whatever you're looking at. As well as you're able to take pictures and short videos that you can upload to YouTube or to your Facebook account. As well as, guess what? Be My Eyes has connected with the Meta glasses. And Ira is right next in line to
Definitely
do it
sounds
as
useful
well.
Right there for sure. So yeah, some events, like I said, that comes around. If anybody hasn't watched, if they're into even Star Trek, we usually have our Trekkie Talk. So just a few shows that whenever we're not on, we have our book club, Trekkie Talk, the Buzz Calls, and the movies every Friday. So for most of you new folks out here, I've heard some new names tonight, so I just want to let you know a little bit what iBug has to offer. And of course, all of this is absolutely free to you. So how about this? We get to learn more about who's in the audience at this point. So Ava, you ready to find out who's out there?
Yes. So if you can announce yourself, who you are, if you're new, how did you hear about us, and what devices do you have? And if you're old, just your name, and if you want to say your devices, we'll be greatly appreciated of that as well.
I'm Linda, and I'm from Chandler, Arizona, near Phoenix. And I am sighted, and I have an Android phone that I try to help other people use when they don't have vision.
All right, welcome,
thank you so
Linda.
much, Miss Linda. Welcome back. I do remember a couple months back, and you used to help your senior folks in your community. So thank you so much for joining us again.
Hi, this is Faye from Seattle, and I have a Galaxy A32. I have a tablet, and I just got a brand new Dell laptop. And we have a whole bunch of Miss A's and Googles in our house. I'm so glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And you know what? You remind me, I need to mention the list a little bit later, but hopefully we're not listening to Squeaky anymore. But we'll explain later. Nice to have you.
Yeah, this is.
Go ahead, Foster. Is that Foster?
Oh, yeah, this is Foster from Houston. I have a couple of Echo devices, couple of Fire Sticks, and a few Google devices. And bad news is, Hershey, my Z Fold 3 screen cracked and went out. But fortunately, I had my Pixel 7 Pro, so I'm back at the Pixel, which I'm actually loving the Android experience better on the Pixel.
I should give an extra hug to the Fold, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So only the outside screen still works. So.
Well, hopefully we could get you something going here soon. You know, there's always all these new devices. So appreciate you being here again. Thank you so much, Foster. Anybody else wants to introduce himself? Let us know where you're coming in from, and so on and so forth.
Hey, this is Renee from Cleveland.
Hey, Miss Renee, welcome back.
Thanks. I have a lot of Echo shows and stuff, and
Echo first today.
No, yeah, okay. I know. It was looking at me right in my face, and then the G Lady speakers and displays, the Chrome, the Google TVs, and a couple of Fire Sticks and Samsung tablet and a Pixel. Yes, I end with the one I use the most, my Pixel 8 Pro.
Awesome. Hey, I'm saying we got to. When you said the Pixel, usually Google goes first, and there's some.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little off
it's
today.
Okay. Sometimes they need it to just yeah. But thank you so much for being here again. And anybody else wants to introduce themselves, please? Go ahead and just unmute and say your name and let us know where you're coming in from.
Judy, I'm calling from Gainesville, Florida. I had come on before in the summertime and
awesome. Just
happened to see the announcement again. Kept missing it a lot because of the time change.
Right. It's thrown everybody off for it. But I think maybe it was 2 months ago or something. Because I remember Gainesville.
Yeah, a couple months ago. It was right after the convention because I visited the iBuzz booth.
Correct. That's what I remember hearing. That's exactly what I remember the conversation, yes. But welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back to the show.
Okay, Eugene, you can go ahead and speak, but just to let everybody know, we do not need to raise hands all we ask is that we be respectful of each other. When you hear a low, just state your name, and either Hershey or I or myself will acknowledge you to speak.
My name is Bonnie Roth, and I'm from Spokane, Washington. I talked to you guys at the convention in Florida. My question is, most of my equipment that I use is Apple, but I have a Braille and Speak. I'm sorry, a Braille Sense. Are you going to be discussing the Braille Sense, Android Braille Sense?
We potentially could. Basically, the way I would look at it is, if anybody else has information to help you on that, we'd more than happy to discuss it. Because we all use these things as tools. It could be Apple devices, Android devices, and sometimes they commingle. So, keep those questions handy, and maybe somebody else in the call may have a lot of information on Braille devices. So, definitely. Anybody else?
Hello, this is Leanne.
Hello.
Hi. I live in Arizona. I have a Pixel 7a, a Samsung Galaxy Tab A, and a Samsung Galaxy AS Tab Lite tablet.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
This is Kevin, and I have several Pixel phones and Samsung and Google Home devices and Echo and watches and earbuds and stuff.
Watches and earbuds. Hey, nice to see you again, Kevin. Appreciate you being back, and definitely so many new and old faces and everything else. So remember, y'all got that dibs on getting those meta glasses. Go check out the website to get more information. Ava, do you think you're going to jump into more questions? Or some more introductions?
Well, let's go ahead and introduce them. How to access our previous shows, Hershey?
Sure. So you could find YouTube link. If you go to YouTube and type in iBug Today, go to where it says go to channel, and under the channel playlist you have about 42 shows of previous months that you could go rewatch. If we might have said something, or you might have missed something, want to take notes on, etc. Sometimes we may share some links in the description of what we may have talked about. So that's definitely a good place to find the iBug Android Insight call. But if you want to join the mailing list, as we were kind of having fun with earlier, the mailing list is iBug Android Insight + subscribe at groups.io. And there you can ask questions within the times that we're not on air. We are a show that's on every third Wednesday, so feel free to have a discussion on there if you have questions, or accidents sometimes happen, or there's sales and stuff like that with new phones. We're more than happy to be a community to help those questions. So those are some places where you could find us. And back to you, Ava.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and open up the floor for any questions or comments out there.
This is Linda, and I have one if nobody else is going to start.
All right, Linda, come on.
I have, on behalf of the people that I work with, I have been desperately trying to set up my Android phone, which is, I know all Android brands are different. So this one is a Motorola, and I don't know if that makes a difference. But what I would like to do is figure out a system by which you could speak to the phone, which I know it's not voiceover, it's the other, the Android talking voice. Help me remember the name of it.
Voice access?
No. Well, that's another one. I just discovered voice access too.
Right, because voice access is fully, and then Select to Speak is the tool in the Android accessibility suite. So those two, and then TalkBack would be the screen reader.
TalkBack, that's what I wanted to say. Okay. My understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, that TalkBack accesses stuff on in the outside world, or in the phone itself, very similar to what Siri does on the iPhone. But voice access looks to me as though it merely uses your voice to get things that are titled on the screen. So do I have to use both programs in order to get a full set of commands is my first question.
Any insight on
This is Renee.
This crunches? All right, go ahead, Miss Renee.
Voice access, if I remember correctly, is not intended. Are you looking at helping people who are blind and low vision?
Yes.
Yeah, voice access is not what's intended for people who are blind and low vision. I think it's more intended for people who have mobility difficulties. So I use TalkBack, and I use it to do all the navigating I need to do. I use it to read things on the screen. I use it to do my searches. So TalkBack, I believe, is what you want to focus on.
Okay. Now, having said that, and Renee, I appreciate that. That helps a lot all by itself. But now the next thing. On my phone, I cannot get TalkBack without hitting the little microphone picture. When I push the power button on the side, all it does is give me the option. It doesn't wake up TalkBack. It merely gives me options for restart or turn or shut down.
Okay, hang on a minute.
Yeah, this
Linda.
is Foster.
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead, Foster.
Everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So no, the TalkBack shortcut, and they'll correct me if I'm wrong, is you have to hold both both volume buttons for like 3 seconds to activate it.
Okay, hang on, Foster, before you continue. Linda, I want to get a clarification because are you looking for something? Because when you first started, you said that they can talk to it?
Yes.
Okay, TalkBack is a screen reader for the phone, so it reads everything on the phone as you navigate through it. So are you looking for something that will read all as they navigate? That reads that, or are you looking for something that, like you said, Siri and Google, hey, Google and Siri are the same. Oh, darn.
I did misspeak. I should have said Google and Gemini, which Gemini, as I understand, is the newer version of. Yes. Okay. So if I could correct myself, that would probably help everybody else. So let's talk about Gemini. I still can't get it without the microphone. Now what?
Okay, so let's one step at a time. TalkBack is the screen reader, like Ava said. It will read everything on the screen. You can navigate. You can read your emails. You can read your text messages. Then you were talking about the shortcut key you want, and Foster was going to explain to you the shortcut key, which I would caution, is it the same for the brand phone she has and whatever version of the operating system she might have versus, I'm not sure. So Foster, you want to answer?
I can tell you I have the most up-to-date Android version, but it is Motorola, which is not necessarily as well known.
Well, no, that's not true. Because when Android first came out, the one of the very first Android phones was Motorola. So it's not as popular as a lot of the other phones, but Motorola was one of the first phones to actually run the Android operating system.
Okay.
With that being said, what version of Android do you have on your phone?
Whatever the highest one is. Is it 12 or?
No, they're at 15. They're about
15
I
is
know
on
OnePlus has
stable.
OnePlus 12 got 15 before
15.
my Pixel 7 Pro, so I'm kind of looking side-eye. But nonetheless, TalkBack hasn't really changed as far as the way you activate it. One of my things that
Foster, I just corrected myself, helped by Renee. I corrected myself to say we're really talking about Gemini and Google Assist.
Okay, so what happens with those is you still use the same Hey G to activate it, and depending on what type of question you ask it will determine whether it uses Gemini to do its AI thing, or whether it will still use the Google Assist to set, like if you want to set reminders, if you want to, have it call out somebody. So you have to go into your settings to, program the Gemini, to activate Gemini. And then you still use the same voice command to get it to do things. Kevin might be able to elaborate a little more on that.
Oh, this is Kevin. So
go ahead, Kevin.
You're looking for your assistant, to be able to launch the assistant on the Motorola, unless they've changed it, you have to go into your, power button settings. I don't think that Motorola is calling it the side key yet. And you will be able to launch. First of all, if you have a Motorola, you have to install Gemini, and it'll prompt you, and it's going to ask you if you want to use Gemini or the original Google Assistant. Once you choose Gemini, or if you choose Google Assistant, when you go into your power button settings, you'll be able to assign tapping the power button twice to launch the assistant without having to use the voice command.
So you're saying that the power button settings is maybe what I'm missing.
Yes, because you can go and tie the first, when you push the button the first time, the power settings are going to come up, unless you have a Pixel and a few other phones. Samsung, it's going to launch Bixby, but you can control what happens when you hit the power button twice, and you can go and assign that to the assistant, to the Google Assistant.
And I just tried it, and you're absolutely right, and that gives me a great deal of help. So I've been pushing the power button once, and then I'm getting the power stuff, but I had not tried it twice, and that worked really well. So I've been here for 15 minutes and I already solved my big problem.
Awesome. And then one other thing where the common place for double tapping the power button, it typically will open up the camera. And I've seen that as well. Samsung does as a default. So where if you were to double tap the power button, the camera opens up. So again, it's certain little flavors on phones are here and there. But to go back to some of the questions and to help others as well. So we figured out, so the assistant, which is the name of the assistant from Google, and then the new big sibling, Gemini. So Gemini is going to be taking over, but that's basically an assistant, as is to Siri, as is to the Alexa lady. So those are all assistants, but they do function as I could control your smart home, where I could say something to my speakers here right now, and I say shut off the lights, they'll go off. But at the same token, we have other accessibility tools, which the Android Accessibility Suite offers, which this used to be where you used to go download Android Accessibility Suite, but now it's pretty much part of your phones, modern day phones. And in that, you have your tools such as voice access, which, yes, it is for mobility needs, but sometimes what that could help with is for making things easier where they could see it, but tapping and scrolling, it might be more difficult. So sometimes it could be a substitute to say, hey, just talk to your phone and say, hey, you see the phone icon? Okay, select it. And then you could work your phone through your voice. For some that are going to use it for select to speak, which is also part of the Android Accessibility Suite, those users are typically the ones that are low vision, that I just want to draw a square around this article, read it, and be done with it. I don't want my phone yapping at me because it yaps at me too much. And TalkBack is the number one yapper in the mix, but it's having to know how to use it. So holding two fingers down on the screen will make it shush. Usually with any of these tools, so it could be TalkBack, select to speak, voice access, you could set shortcut keys, which is volume up and down held together typically for most phones. So most out-of-the-box experiences, you bought a new Motorola. I want to turn on TalkBack screen reader and I'm totally blind. What do? Well, holding down the volume up and volume down buttons together for 3 to 5 seconds should at least give you some verbiage off the phone. or even taking 2 fingers and putting it on the screen and holding it for 3 to 5 seconds. That at least toggles on the screen reading portion. So people with no vision, they out of the box have a tool that is at least going to read them exactly what we see when we open a box, right? So we're seeing, hey, what's your email? Hey, where do you live? Do you want stuff to be backed up from your old stuff to the new stuff? All that little shake hand, hello, how are you? Kind of, Apple does it, Google does it, Samsung does it. So they all ask for similar things, but it's the tools, and where we could compare Apple to, VoiceOver is built in right into the operating system. TalkBack is built into the Android operating system. But Samsung sometimes will have it where you're downloading from their store. So there sometimes is confusion to say, hey, I don't know, I'm looking for TalkBack. I'm looking for that thing that talks to you. And the confusion was in the past, they named them different names. So it was really convoluted. Now everybody calls it TalkBack, which is a screen reader. Select to speak. You could read for short text. Voice access. You could access your phone by your voice. And then, of course, there's other settings and other doohickeys. But thank you so much. Just to kind of clarify that for everybody, because yes, there's different avenues that we all kind of learn from. And we're looking for something that, hey, I want to use my voice to call my contact. And that's the Assistant or Gemini, not necessarily screen reader. So
this is
and
Richard.
That helps a lot, and you made a really good summary of
Thank you.
The whole thing.
Thank you.
Good.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yes, with the Google part on assistance, you don't have to use your hands at all. You can just talk to the phone, but you have to activate it by saying hey, and then say Google. That has to be actually activated though, and that is in the assistant. You go into that part, and in the assistant, it's got all kinds of stuff in there, like Kevin mentioned and Foster mentioned, where it has the reminders and schedulings, but it says learn my voice in that listing. And when you go into learn my voice, just listen to what it will tell you to do, and it prompts you on what to do to learn your voice. You would have to talk to it. And once it's activated, you don't even have to use your hands anymore.
Right. And again, that in its own is the assistant doing the functionality, right? So who's doing the work? Voice access, your voice is doing the work. And your eyeballs in some occasions, because maybe you could see, but you're incapable of using your hands for whatever reason. So with the voice assistant, it helps kind of everybody, but it is kind of, as we've summarized, with similar to other ecosystems as an assistant, where it may do different functionalities. However, certain buttons, certain pushes do different functions. So as Renee outlined in an initial state, the power volume up and volume down, that's a sure bet to at least turn on TalkBack. The rest of the features, if you don't like using TalkBack, then you could throw it out the window, go use something that works for you. But that's when you get to customize your gestures. And later on, if anybody has more questions, we could go into how do I go about looking at what buttons or what can I customize to those buttons. So we could look at that with a Pixel, but I'll leave the stage open to you guys.
Yeah, this is Foster again.
Okay, Foster.
Yeah, so it was Linda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Linda, I'm low vision, so I don't use TalkBack a whole lot. What I've been using a lot lately is the reading mode.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't work on every app, but it definitely works on emails and text messages like that. So when I'm going through emails, going through text messages, especially if they're long messages, I'll use the reading mode, open up the text message, hit reading mode and use that. So it's, the great thing about Android is really customizable. So it's just like Hershey said, you can just, finding out what works best for you. And, And especially if you're trying to show somebody, you show them the various stuff so they can kind of figure out what will work best for them. Cause no two people use the phones the same way.
And no two phones are the same in the Android systems. And my challenge, and this has helped me a lot, and my challenge is I get different people coming to me with their Android phones. And that means I have two different people, and I also have different Androids. So I'm trying to learn it all at once.
Well, another thing is, even though the phones are different, they have different user interfaces.
Brands.
Cause Motorola, I forgot what they call theirs. Samsung calls theirs One UI. I forgot what the Motorola one is, but the Motorola has their own. But even with Motorola, their skin is still, the phone itself still is one of the closest versions of Android. Nokia phones they don't really have a skin.
Is that what they
pretty
used to call
much
Google
use
One, perhaps? Is that their skin?
Yeah. Nokia, they used to call it Google One. So they still have like the primarily stock Android. So, but with no matter what phone it is, if you go into settings and search for whatever you're looking for, you can do on any Android phone. So even if they do, like one phone that Hershey knows I used to have, that I still have, I don't use it, is OnePlus. OnePlus, they have their own skin called Oxygen, and it's still pretty much stock Android, but there are a few bells and whistles that say they don't matter to they would not matter to someone that's totally blind or really low vision, because you have to have some sight to use them. So that's it's those types of things you got to look at, because even within the blind and visually impaired community, there are different levels of even people with low vision.
Thank you.
Welcome.
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
From a teaching standpoint, now that the way that things are, as long as you have Android 13 and above, TalkBack is the unifier. So the settings and things like that about the OS and the skin might be laid out differently. But as far as the way you operate the screen reader, that is the same. So TalkBack 15.1 is rolling out now. And so even Motorola's, even if you have Android 12 or 13 phone, you're still going to have the same feature. You're still going to have image descriptions. You're still going to have all the bells and whistles, the way that you can now customize the different controls that you can navigate to. So the TalkBack, the Google TalkBack approach is almost like it's a built-in screen reader, but it almost takes the third party, almost like the JAWS with Windows approach. It doesn't matter who your computer comes from. It's still running Windows. It's still running JAWS. So the features are in the screen reader, not necessary in the operating system.
Great point, Kevin. And yeah, so two separate cycles, right? You have your OS cycle, which could be Android right now. We're Android 15. Beta cycles have already started for Android 16. But when it comes to TalkBack's 15.1 is the version that's running for the latest version. So different little quirks and features, but again, this is definitely how it explains Android pretty decently to, what's what with, if you're trying to decipher between I'm using a Samsung brand phone or this and that, it just depends where you're downloading it from. So if you're on Samsung, you'll get TalkBack from the Galaxy Store. If you're on anything else, it's going to be the Google Play Store. So it does help you out at least that much to, you only have a couple of camps to go into. Sony, everything is in the Google Play Store. So, all right. Well, anyone want to start a new discussion or a question? Please feel free. Let us know who you are and what your question is.
We had a question that was brought up earlier about the Braille sense.
Uh-huh.
So,
where are our Braille gurus?
yes. So, is the young lady still on the line, or?
I think it was from Gainesville.
Might have been Judy.
Yes.
Who is Bonnie?
Okay. Oh. Yes.
But, just unmute and feel free to ask away.
Okay. Well,
this is Richard.
Go ahead, Richard.
I have recently had this pop up within the last week, and I don't know how to get it to go away. Every night, I usually go through the garbage trash and throw it away that I don't need. And then it says see 3 tabs or see 2 tabs or how many tabs. And that is, I guess, the searching windows on how many is open or whatever. And I get all of them to go away, but for one. Now, one of them just is there and it just will not go away. It just constantly says see 1 tab, and I don't know which one is open, and I can't get it to close.
Anybody having some insight to help Richard out with this dilemma?
Is this, Kevin, is this the browser that you're talking about? Is it talking about Chrome and that you have 1 tab open?
Yes,
or is
yes.
This an email or?
Yes, I'm in the Chrome and browser, and I go through my Google history, and there is sometimes it will say 3 tabs, see 3 tabs, see 4 tabs, or see 2 tabs. And I go through the close where it says close tabs, close all tabs and groups, and I do that, but over the last few weeks, there's just constantly 1. It says see 1 tab, see 1 tab. All the others I can get closed. It doesn't tell me which one is open, and it doesn't go away. But it's in the Chrome, and it's in my Google history.
What phone is this?
It's an Android. It's a Revel 5G Plus.
I'm thinking that that's just the way that it's handling the tabs. So you have to have kind of like 1 default tab open. Just the fact that you've opened the internet, that you've opened Chrome, you technically have 1 tab open. I'm thinking it's just calling it the wrong thing. So I'm thinking that's just the default
issue.
Whatever your home page is or whatever your landing page is for Chrome. I'm thinking that that's why you can't get rid of that one, because you have to have something to start with. Maybe.
And it just happened over the week, so is it possible? Because over the last few weeks, I've been getting a lot of updates about, one of them was Google Drive, Google Chrome, the updates there. Could that be possible now? Why it's just, because it never showed up before and stayed on like that. It did show up before, but it always went away and closed. Now it's just constantly there. So could that be because of the updates that it went through?
Yeah, especially if you've gone from 14 to 15 or whatever their updated version is. One thing you could do is go to, if it's happening in Chrome or whatever app it's happening in, you can go to the apps and clear your storage and your data, and then you'll see what the default, what the browser looks like in its default state. See if that's what it takes to get rid of it. If it persists after that, then that's just one of the changes that has happened to the browser on that phone.
Okay, so you're saying go into my default, whatever my default apps are, and clear out cache and data first.
For that, only for Chrome.
For a specific Chrome app.
Oh, okay, so go to
Chrome app. So go to apps. It's called apps on. I've never used a Revel, but
Revel.
Whatever it's called, all apps are apps and settings. Go to settings, and then apps are all apps. And then scroll down to Chrome, and then open that, and then go down to clear storage, or it's called storage and data or something like that. Go in there and
look
clear
for storage and then clear cache and.
Yeah, isn't a Rebel actually made by TCL?
Maybe.
I think they go with the different partners every time. I think TCL might be making them now, but it's from what I hear, it's almost stock Android. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's primarily a T-Mobile product.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to
T-Mobile and Metro.
Yeah, so it's right now, I think, because it has a T-Mobile branding on it, but it's actually a TCL phone. To my knowledge, they haven't changed it yet. So, and it is supposed to be pretty much stock Android. So it doesn't have the latest.
It may have T-Mobile skin on it though.
Yeah, it has a T-Mobile skin, but it's still primarily stock Android.
Right.
And it doesn't have the latest processor. That's what I was trying to say. It doesn't have the latest processor.
Right.
No, it doesn't, because mine says that it was updated, yes, but the system mine here is running on, it says it went from 11 to a 12.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's primarily what you would call a budget phone. Cause not everybody wants the high-end phones.
And that's, like I said, we were saying that Android 15 is stable right now, and 16 beta. So some of these devices, go ahead. Okay.
Do you have the 4, 5, or 6, the Rebel?
As far as I was told, and as far as I can tell, this Rebel is a 5G plus, and it was as of last year. This year, it's a newer model that they did come out with.
Yeah, the 5G plus. I can't believe it doesn't have 13 or 14. Are you?
So that's the
system update.
That's the latest one. You have the latest.
The 6 is the latest. The 6 is the latest one, but his is one of the most powerful. If he has the 5G one, it's one of the. It's
bells and whistles.
Dimensity or something like that. It's a pretty good processor. It's like the Snapdragon 7 equivalent or 6 equivalent.
Right. Yeah, because I think 7 has to be at least a 7 to really do 5G.
I think this one is an Android. I think they said that this model is an Android 11 or something, or an Android 12.
Right. So, like I said, there, Richard, just give those things a shot with going to the designated areas to clear your cache and data, and see if that improves. And you always got the list, so hopefully that helps you a bit right there with your question. But anyone else wants to ask a question or say a thought, concern?
I'm just curious if anybody has invested in the Pixel 9 Pro Fold.
Okay, and who's that?
This is Foster.
All right.
I was wondering if Kevin might have gotten it.
Anybody have the Pixel 9 Fold in the arsenal?
Yeah, this is Kevin. I'm totally blind. I don't have much use for a Fold. But maybe the next time that I'm up for a new device with the Trusted Tester program, I might get a Fold. But
right.
I'm not going to buy one on purpose because I barely find enough use for my tablet. So people tend to love it. I mean, from what the reviews and what people who have it say.
I could say this much to even buying the Folds or buying the 9s in specific. You at least have your 7-year updates of OS guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, the other one has a 2 to Fold 1. I don't mind it, the passport look to it. It's, the other one's slimmer, and then the Samsung is even slimmer than that, looking more of a chocolate bar style, flip open into a map kind of thing. So it just depends on the style of phone you want in your hand. I mean, the passport thing, honestly, I like the outside screen on the Fold 1. It's just nice to use. It decently fits in your hand. It's not overly... Because some of these larger phones, sometimes after a while, your hand does get numb from the YouTube and whatever. So I think that the handleability of all these phones is what's important. The 9A is probably slated to come out in May, probably, because of Google I/O is usually held in May. But anything Pixel 8, Pixel 9, 7 years of warranty, or OS updates, not warranty. But yeah, they're interesting. They're all interesting ecosystems, and honestly, talk back with all the different features that it keeps coming up with image recognition and stuff like that, and then AI and Gemini and all that. I think that's what's getting really, really to be a powerful tool.
Okay, hang on, Hershey. I hear somebody that's working on their computer. Can you please mute, because we are being recorded?
It says Katrisa Cruz.
Hey, I got a question. I'm sorry. How do you turn the volume up on Windows 11? I do you know how to do that? That was what I needed to ask. Thank you.
That's fine. Anybody, let's see, function and I think F2, F3 usually, but that's the only ones I could think of off the top of my head. But yeah.
You mean just to mute it? Function F6.
Got it.
It says on mine.
Yeah, it might depend on each machine, but
yeah.
So if anybody else has questions or thoughts about what's coming up, I know we're wrapping up with the end of the year, so no new phones, at least for as far as I know. Maybe there might be some Google devices in the run as far as like smart speakers and things, but nothing big to announce per se. I think we're all kind of going to await, see what Google I/O 2025 has to offer. And as far as how I always explain, if you have any bugs and if you have feature requests even, g.co/disability support is a good website to get to. And you could also use Be My Eyes. So I've heard a couple of people had their issues with their devices, and it's just easier to go to Google and say, hey, look, this is what I'm have going on with my device. Is this something that's new to my device or operating system? And then leave the guessing game to them. And that just saves a lot of time. And honestly, they're always willing to chat back and forth. We have a couple of people on our call that have gotten a lot of stuff solved, but they've been on emails for a month. And was that Miss Linda? Did you have a question?
Well, I did, and you just answered it while you were talking. But let me just ask it in the way I was going to ask it, and see if you have anything to add. Sure. I notice, Hershey, that you and Kevin and Foster especially are so far up to date with stuff I've never heard of, and I want to know: do you have a regular thing, and is it the G.gov disability? Or what do you do to make sure that you've got the latest information? Any of you?
Interesting. Foster and Kevin, you're my guests, so I'll let you guys go first.
It's my hobby. It's a hobby for me. Like, I'm a date myself, but like ever since they came out with that first Atari back in 78, 79, I've been hooked on electronics. So, and as of currently, I mean, the smartphone is my favorite device. I mean, really, truly, pretty much everything we do now centers around the smartphone. Does the newest information come to you in some sort of a dream, or how does it get in your brain? So there's a phone site that I go to called Phone Arena. Ooh. They have the latest information on all smartphones. You also have what is it, Hershey? Android Authority.
Android Faithful podcast. You speak
of course, some of our favorite YouTubers, MKBHD, Flossie Carter, Unbox Therapy. Yeah. So yeah, I follow a lot of different.
To summarize it, YouTube and social media have been the tool for you specifically to give you the rundown.
Like Linda, when you ask questions about how to do something, my go-to is YouTube. I'm a go on YouTube, type in my search and see who comes up, and I'll see how different people explain it and stuff.
And
I spend a lot of time with Sam, the blind guy, but he doesn't give me this detailed information like you have.
Thank you. That's a compliment. I appreciate that.
Sam is good, and what I like about Sam, because he's been around so long, he's always get promo on the latest tech in the blind vision impaired sphere. So that's why I like to watch him.
And Kevin, your name came up in this discussion as well. So
more of a although I don't always like their position on things. I think they're a little hard on Google for them to be an Android site, but I'm more of an Android police. And I read Android Central. But
and say it again, Android.
Android Police and Android Central.
Central.
That's just Central. That's just for general Android news. But what I like about those two sites is that they are starting to highlight accessibility updates when things happen. I mean, they don't catch things like, Be My Eye being updated or Seeing AI, but anytime that something happens, most of the time when something happens with Lookout or Talkback or even with Bixby, sometimes they will update it there. I also subscribe to the Blind Android Users list. They have a lot of good information. You have to kind of go through some other stuff that you don't want, but you have to, but they have some good stuff on there. But, so yeah, the Blind Android Users, and then I'm also, Android apps for the blind on Facebook and Blind Android Users on Facebook. But the biggest help, I think, with most people, just like with anything, is just to be a user. I tell my students that are coming from being visual to being blind, something you start with 30 minutes a day, but you have to actually use it, with the screen shade on. If you're sighted or something, you have to use it, in context. So with the screen shade on or something like that, so that you can really grasp, what's going on and how it's used. And that will help you kind of keep up with how the features are going. And it's just having a good starting place. That's what it was for me. And I've just been using it a really, really long time.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And I guess it is my turn after all, but my golden go-to is community, right? I've used applications such as Discord. Again, it's a community-driven tool. Some YouTubers have their servers on there, so there's a constant talk about what's new, what's not. You mentioned Sam earlier. He has his Discord server. Blind Android Users has it, but they didn't really utilize it as much. We have Facebook with the Blind and Visually Impaired Android Users group. That started ages ago by a woman, and it had like 3,000 members last I checked or something. But it gives us a feedback from all around the world. And I think that's another important key to keep in mind, because the world may have different brands and different tools, but what brings us together at the end of the day with something that's cheap enough that's going to succeed to do what we needed to do, which could be making phone calls, text message, or navigate through Ubers and Lyfts and Google Maps, walking around. So I think within the community, I've first had my first Android phone in 2012, and it was the Samsung Galaxy S2. And from that, I was predominantly a low vision user, so did not use my phone in a screen reading mode. And just forcing myself to learn new things, I kept on yapping away in Facebook land. Just what I knew, I would share it right back to somebody else. And that repetition led to a community call like this, where I started answering all these questions and, hey, could you stay? And again, it's the communities, right? So it's really driven by the people, because everyone has a little bit of different knowledge from different spaces, because we're not all built the same with vision, with learning, cognition and everything else. So I think YouTube has been a definite for me, where I keep up with audio video people. So even how to do YouTube channels and creators, and why do I need to do that? Why do I care? Because it really gives us the entire landscape of what information is missing for people. And people say, well, Android is inaccessible. Of course it is. We're all Android users here. I'm not saying that Apple isn't accessible. It's perfectly accessible. But we need to stop fighting against this and that brand to brand because they all work together. We're all humans, and it's humans that drive these companies, right? Whenever you have a disability question or a bug, you're giving it to a human typically, and a human then it's going to go back to the bunch of other humans and try to fix it. So I think it's human driven, and with Android itself, it's come a long way. We've gone from applications like the ideal currency identifier, which Yahoo bottom out. They told them you have to cease and desist your business right now. That ideal currency is the same banknote identifier that the Bureau of Money notes still have in circulation. I read that just the other day just by going to the website of the Bureau of Money and Engraving just to get me the bill reader for anybody that wants one. But again, it's little tools like that. And then if I don't know, I don't have my Apple phone, but go to the Apple show, go to the Buzz Call on Mondays, go learn what they're learning. And you'll find out there's trends between Microsoft, between VoiceOver with Apple, TalkBack with Android. They all do the same thing. It's just we fight over the silliest things because the features eventually come to this, all the screen readers. Right now, the new thing on the block is AI. So AI image recognition, AI this, AI that. I'll leave the floor back open to you guys, but thank you to you all. It's the reason why this works. Questions, thoughts, concerns, feel free.
Thank you for all your help, all of you.
You're very welcome, and we really appreciate you for always, again, and that goes for everybody. No question is a silly question. We all came from somewhere. We didn't know this stuff. So thanks to all y'all for teaching me, and I teach you back.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, I was just wondering if there were specific questions about the Braille sense, or was she just hoping that someone else would ask some questions, or what about the Braille sense was
right? And I'm not sure if that was the iPad that was there that just left, but yeah, I'm not sure if the person was on.
He was from Arizona.
Oh, then it's the 520 young lady.
Whichever it was, but no, the person that I think is Bobby was the person that had asked the question, right, Shay? I think she had mentioned it. I thought I heard Shay's voice.
Well, this is Scott.
Go ahead, Scott. You got a question? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering about this. Okay, I don't know if y'all have heard the latest. There's on the blind shell. There's a blind shell Classic 3 out now. What is this Aurora store that it's using? Is that a subgroup of Google? What is it's using? You get third-party apps from something called Aurora.
Interesting. Welcome to the world of Android customizability. So, and funny enough, I have a friend that actually had come onto the call a couple of months back and talked about the blind shell. So, anybody have any insight? Please feel free today. Here's somebody.
This is Kevin. I used to get updates from them, but I haven't been getting any. I'm guessing that they're calling the store Aurora so that you can only get the apps that are approved for use, because they know the limitations of the phone as far as, how much RAM and everything it's all, but they want to make sure that all the apps that are approved for the phone are easy to use.
But they do mention that Aurora, getting these third-party apps you get from this Aurora store are a little bit more like for the venture, some at your own risk kind of thing, where they don't guarantee accessibility in all of them. So it was my understanding that Aurora is some other mainstream type store like Google Play and Amazon.
I would call it more of an Amazon-like store, if anything. Yeah. It's nothing to do with Google Play for sure.
Okay.
Of course. What was it? There was 9:02 p.m. Oh, be quiet. We used to have stores on Apple whenever people used to jailbreak and stuff, if you remember, right? So they had all of those other third-party type of whatever stores. With this phone and device, I mean, it isn't technically manufactured in the States, so there is that aspect. So I don't know if that's the workaround of having another Play Store or another store to
maybe like somewhere in Europe or someplace.
Right, because I think what I heard was Czech. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
but,
Czech Republic is where the blind shell is originally
from. Okay, and so it could have been because Google's policies might have gotten strict. So hey, we're just going to get our own store and update that way. Because if we look at old devices as even readers and memo, like the Blaze ET, it had almost like its own little store that you downloaded your own little apps and stuff. We saw what happened to those.
Yeah, I tried Skype once and didn't really get very far.
Right. So, like, some of these companies do try to, hey, we'll do our own store. We'll give you everything you want in the kitchen sink, but then it's not what the person needs, right? So, I guess it's as Zoom, as I don't know if that's where you download Zoom from. Let's say pretending if someone was to get on a Zoom call. I don't know if they have Play Store and the Aurora Store. As far as the phone that was described, and if you listen back maybe 2-3 months, the person had shown it off a little bit towards the end of the call, and the buttons were quite nice. I mean, it was tactile, right? I mean, that's the only thing that I would give it. But you and I guess, are familiar with it that way. But
you're not using True Talk. You're not really using TalkBack. You're using Blind Shell Screen Reader, I think they call it.
Oh, really?
Like
so they even script out the screen reader wow. Okay.
Yeah. Should I read you what their website says? It says it's an unofficial FOSS client to Google Play with an elegant design. Aurora Store allows users to download, update, and search for apps like the Play Store. It works perfectly fine with or without Google Play services or Micro G.
Yeah, so it's basically a workaround or step around Google rules and regulations.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
This is Katrisa. The Aurora, is that compatible with the Android phone? What number Android is that compatible with? I have an Android 10 Plus and an Android
that's
814.
Android 5, it says. Android 5.0.
That one in specific, Patricia, that's on the specific device, which is the Blind Shell Classic, and the Plus, or any of the Blind Shells. So it's not necessary, because I remember you mentioned, I think you had the Samsung S10 and the 15 or something?
814.
14, okay. Yeah, so that would be not applicable to you in this case.
Is that like applicable to the the 20 Samsung 20 something?
Nope. No. This everything that they're talking about is only applicable to the Blind Shell phone.
It's actual phone.
And it's an actual phone. It's actually a simple, basic phone for those who are not comfortable with touch screens, where it still has the numbers on there and a directional guide. But with the new Blind Shell Classic 3, it has the capability of touchscreen, which is turned off when you get it, but you can turn it on if you want to use touchscreen as well. And then it also added in a new AI feature on it. And then it opened up the Aurora Store to open it up to more apps versus the ones that they had already vetted for it. So that's what the new Blind Shell 3 Classic is. So
but on the Braille, but real quickly on the Braille Sense 6, you're getting access on that to the real Google Play Store, correct? As far as everyone knows, I mean, you're getting the real Google Play Store that you would get on any other.
Yes, this is Hershi, and sorry for not saying my name the whole call. This is Hershi, but that is true. I want to say that, and the Braille Note Touch Plus, that also uses Android, and the Sense uses Android. So they are using it, but the only downfall and the kind of arguments that we all get into with some of the companies is they stopped at Oreo, which is 8.
Right.
We're on 13 or 14 as the baseline, right? We're on 13 as like the bare minimum. So how do we fix that? There goes the expensive device out so, but we'll see what's down in the pike. What Braille's getting better, Android's getting better with partnerships with Braille companies. So if they find a solution, maybe there might be a better device. Because I know like the Monarch, I don't know if the Monarch connects to Android device. Other devices out there, the Orbit, I think does connect to the Android device. So
Yeah, I think the Mantis might, at least some of them.
Right.
I mean, at least now that they have the HID, Google has officially adopted the HID protocol now.
Right.
Okay, so that.
And again, it was our complaint, so to speak, right? Is for the longest, everyone's like, "Hey, this is not working for us," and we have expensive devices, so it always helps by talking to both companies and not just expecting that it'll be done, right? So we finally won that war, so to speak, or won that case, and off to the next one, and to just find stability. Because I think even with iOS and all of these OSs, is everyone just wants stability at this point. I want it to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. That's pretty much all I have.
Not a problem, Scott. Appreciate you, and thank you for joining us tonight. All right, so more questions, thoughts, please feel free.
I do have a funny story that relates to what you just said, but it's in the Braille world, so I was not going to tell the story. But now you've got a lot of silence, so maybe I should tell it.
Go for it.
Do some of you know what an N key rollover is on a keyboard? That's what lets you put Braille symbols onto your screen by pushing more than one key at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked just fine in the 1980s. But then IBM and others decided, who needs that darn N key rollover anyway? So they took it off. And then pretty soon you had to go to Goodwill and buy an old keyboard in order to get an N key a keyboard that had N key rollover on it.
That actually did.
So one day, a blind Braille user and input guy was on an airplane his seatmate worked for IBM.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they got introduced, the blind man said to the IBM guy, "What the heck ever happened to N key rollover?" And the IBMer knew what he was talking about. He said, "Well, who needs that stuff?" And the blind guy said, "I do. We do." So they put it back based on that conversation.
And, and I'm glad that you kind of brought that in an anecdotal way. I mean, Android as OS is that way, right? Because there's certain features that I recall when I first started. The Android version was, I think, ice cream sandwich. And the whole, it was like 4.0, I think it was, or something. But anyhow, the whole phone was dark mode. And then came out Lollipop one month. And I'm like, what is this? It's the whole phone. It's bright. Like, it hurt my eyes. And I just wanted my way. I'm like, how can I get back? How can I get back? And now we look at it. Dark mode has become a thing. Everything's become having this dark mode. So either you don't run battery out or you don't run this and that out. So we've kind of traversed into this dark mode, but it's not, with low vision, sometimes it helps us. It may not bother anyone that's totally blind, but of course a screen curtain will. So we mentioned TalkBack earlier, and what we mentioned is to put on the screen curtain or put on, what did they call it? Hide screen is what TalkBack calls it. And what you can do is essentially you black out your screen while the TalkBack is on, but then it gives you that phone as if you can't see, right? You can't see the screen. So this definitely helps you to kind of force learn some things. Or how do I draw that L? And what are these man, they're draw an L, draw an upside down L. What do you mean? And just that practicing that piece honestly can change a lot of what you knew from the past or what you thought you knew. And then everything nowadays, by just hitting like 4-finger double tap or tap on your screen when TalkBack is on, you could get to the tutorial or there's two sections. One is a tutorial, one is like a scratch pad. So you could practice what gestures you're doing on the screen, and it'll be like, oh, you just drew the back symbol. Oh, you just drew this and that. And if you change those gestures in your customized gestures, I know I'm kind of going above and beyond, but for those that may understand this bit, you can then take those gestures and do the same scratch pad gestures, but it'll tell you, hey, swiping up and right goes to the first. Swiping down and right goes to the last. Because I customized those two things to do that. So you're able to really make it yours, but in the initial, just go through the tutorial, 2-finger double tap, play pauses, answers, ends calls, most times ends the alarm. Sometimes you might have to throw the phone against the wall, but don't break it. things like that are your common tools to use. But the other piece of it is that some of these things, as Kevin alluded to, it has Google Lookout features built in, right? Which is like the image recognition. So, hey, I'm at a website. What in the world am I looking at? And I could quickly do image recognition. Oh, it's a woman and a man wearing a suit and a dress, and oh, this must be a whatever party, right? And so you get exact information, but you're getting the information on the fly. So if you haven't used it, it's worth checking out. But more questions, thoughts, please keep them coming. We have a few more minutes here, so leave it open to you.
This is me.
Go ahead.
I have a question. If anybody has any experience with the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. So I can see a little and use a really strong prescription. I did check, and you can have prescription lenses put in them, but I don't know if I really trust that. Does anybody have experience with things like that?
It's about $100 extra.
That's a good experience, right?
But
it just depends on your health insurance, but they are compatible with your prescription.
Anybody else?
Actually, with the Ray-Ban Meta, if you have prescription glasses, most of your medical plan that pays for your glasses, you can get those and have your prescription put in it, and your insurance will pay for it. Now, with those glasses, because I have a sighted friend that has a pair, and she had her prescriptions put in them. I have a pair that I just use for shade as well. No, it does not interrupt anything because the camera is built in on the right side, I believe, on the lenses. Okay.
On the frame.
And they're on the frame. I'm sorry. And they're Bluetooth to your phone. So no, it does not interrupt anything. And they work wonderfully.
Oh, great. Thank you.
This is Katrisa Cruz.
Yes.
I'm totally blind. It might as well be totally blind because I just have light perception. I might as well be totally blind. So could I get my doctor, would my insurance pay for Meta-Ray glasses?
No.
No.
Not unless your doctor is prescribing you shades. No. But you can pick them up on Amazon for $2.99, $3.15 with tax.
So they're supposed to help you with IRA, it's like hands-free, you can,
Okay, IRA is beta testing on them now. Be My Eyes have connected with them. But you can use them with them so you don't have to hold your phone up all the time. And they'll be wherever you look at through the glasses is where is what they will see.
Wow. So, let's say if I want to read my mail or if I want to scan a book, would the Meta-Ray glasses be for that?
Yes. Think of the Meta-Ray as a low-tech version of the Oricam. The thing is, when you look down at your paper and all you do is say, "Hey, Meta, look and read," it will either read it completely or summarize it and let you know, "Hey, this looks like a bill."
Yes.
Okay. Like that. So, but yes, you can use them to read your mail. You can use them to read menus. You can look when you walk into a room, you can say, "Hey, Meta, look and describe," and it'll describe the room to you. I used mine. I was leaving my doctor's office and I wanted to walk outside. So in the direction I was walking, I say, "Hey, Meta, is there a door?" And it described the room and told me, "Yes, there's a door to your right." And, what else was, in the room around me, in the direction I was looking.
Is it compatible with Envision AI?
No.
So this is Hershi, by the way, and quick one there. I wanted to mention that. So there's flavors, right? Again, if you want to get Envision AI glasses, that's an option for you too, but they're about a couple grand, give or take. And with these, they are on the cheaper end, so that's why they've become this populace of devices, so to speak. There are other companies that make glasses that do different things. Let's just leave it at that. Some are for low vision. Some are for people with no sight. And the one that was for no sight, they've pivoted. So Orcam has pivoted their business into hearing aids. So Orcam has stopped making them, but then Orcam was $7,000 and $10,000.
Yeah.
So that's out the window in that sense. But Envision AI has a platform. We talked about Aura and all of that, how people are making their own platforms. So with Envision, they also have a platform with the Envision glasses. So you could have a friend be that person to help you, or family. You could have like your best fives, or have different apps that work on that certain device. I think Be My Eyes may have partnered up with them, or Ira might have partnered up with them, etc. And all of these devices are just using cameras, 8 megapixel or higher camera. They're wearable. And so Meta, again, if you, we mentioned it earlier, if you look on our iBug Today website, ibugtoday.org, and to sign up to, or on December 21st is when we have our drawing to potentially win one of those. But they're tools. Go ahead, Ava.
Yeah, but just to make one correction, Oracam still makes the Oracam. Okay, they just discontinued that department.
Okay.
But as the representative said, they're still making, they still have the workers, but they just discontinued that department, was what the representatives say. So the Oracam is still being made.
Okay.
So,
this is
go ahead.
This is Foster. So, another thing to keep in mind about the Meta glasses, the Ray-Bans with the Meta, you got to remember these are two big companies that came together, right? Right. So Ray-Ban is one of the most well-known eyeglass / shades, and then Meta, of course, which owns Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and everything under that umbrella. Those two companies came together. So Meta AI, I think Facebook tried some glasses before. So what they said was, hey, let's team up with Ray-Ban and do this project. And it really wasn't specifically for blind people, but it took off because of the features that they offer. And so, some of the things on it is, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ava, I think the video is, we'll do like a 1 minute snippet. So it doesn't video for a long time. It videos in like little short snippets. And a lot of this was designed also so that people could take a video, take a photo, and then, upload it on Facebook, share it on WhatsApp, share it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So for us as blind and visually impaired people, when we find a device that works for us, where you don't have to go to your Department of Rehabilitation to pay for the device because it costs $3,000-$4,000, then hey, we jumped on it. And so now these companies are starting to see that we have it. Thus, Be My Eyes has joined Ira's, because Ira was working on their own glasses, right? They had their own glasses before. So why create something, new when somebody is already doing it, and you can create your own application to work with what they have. So those are some of the things to keep in mind from the large perspective.
Yeah, this is Renee.
Go ahead, Miss Renee.
Yeah, Foster makes a good point about the fact that it's a big company, because there are some other ones out there that are right around the same price point. Equivision, which is being developed by people who are blind and low vision, who came from Amazon and Google, and they look very promising. And there's another one too. I spoke with the Ira rep just last weekend, and she said they don't want to be in the business of making glasses. So, they want that to work with Ray-Ban. Right now, there's a workaround with WhatsApp that you can use it, but they're still working on making it more seamless, I think. But they're also working with these other ones also. But I think because we all know, because everything is changing so fast, there's going to be a lot of players that jump in this game, but we don't know who are going to last. And the fact that Foster points out that this is a big company, if they take to heart the business they can have from the blind and low vision community, it'll be a really good thing, because there'll be more stability in a larger company having the glasses. But these other ones, we don't know if they're going to last or not. But there are some very promising ones out there. There was a review done by carry-on accessibility on the Echo Vision glasses, that they look very promising, and they're right around the same price point. So there's a lot of stuff to pay attention to out there.
This is Ava, and if you want to know more about it, get on with some of the groups out there that are on Facebook. Ray-Ban Meta has a Facebook group that is really out there sharing what they're using it for, and that's people who are totally blind using it and people with low vision using it.
Hey, so Miss Linda, if I could give you a hot scoop real quick.
Sure.
Google and Samsung are coming out with an XR headset next year, second quarter, potentially. There you go. So it's groups like this, right? But we were talking about wearables all of a sudden, but they deal with our phones. They deal with the way we see, we use our apps, and these apps are meant to be installed on both platforms and other platforms. And sometimes you have weird stores like Aurora. I mean, what are we going to do? So we just have to work to get. Go ahead, Foster.
I'm sorry. So here's one other point to keep in mind. A lot of the things, like a lot of these companies, like Orcam, Envision, they specifically make stuff for blind, vision impaired users, and a lot of them are private companies. They're not publicly traded companies. Thus, they don't have the capital like a big company like Meta, like Ray-Ban, which are publicly traded companies. So those companies can produce things on a larger scale, thus making the price point a lot lower, which is great for us because the majority of blind and low vision people are on fixed income. So if we can get into something that does what we need it to, and then those other companies like, what's her name just said, Ira's not interested in making glasses. They're interested in having their application. So if they can put their application on Android, if they can put their application on Apple, if they can put their application on Meta, if they can put their application on, if some other company comes around, then they'll still be making money off of the app because the app
even
itself.
Mentioning big companies there, Foster, because Meta is one thing, but like what's happening, we have the Apple Vision Pro. Now they're accessible to a certain degree for a lot of different pieces with VoiceOver built in. So maybe that might become a tool. And then Google Glass came out way too early. Google Glass is actually the Vision glasses. It didn't get used in that retrospect, and Google came out to punch in too early. So the norm of people were too scared of what that is. Apple did it, so now everybody's intrigued. So we're going to see more of these popped up companies. But yes, we still have our major companies like the Googles and the Amazons and whomever. I mean, Amazon, I'm sure, is going to jump into this game soon enough with the visuals. They've already jumped in with the audio stuff. So, we just have to follow who you follow, and then who do you trust your information with? And if someone like Google and Samsung work together to make a pair of glasses, I would trust it because I have a Pixel or Samsung phone. If it was some random company that I don't know, well, are you wanting my data? Do you want what I see is what you see? And you're capturing data from another country or whatever the thing may be. So between that, it's a place to be, a place to see kind of thing. And if you're blind, that does not mean that you can't have Apple Vision Pro glasses because you have other functionalities that might read it to you with an app. So let's hope for the best. And
well, do you think companies like Orcam are just going to go out of business because of the price difference?
No, I don't think it's because that's actually a science or a tool, right? So they prototype that. That's 7 and 10. They're making that regardless, and people are still paying. But they're going to make more money because the hearing aid have opened up the campground for over-the-counter hearing aids. So now the pivot has came for them as a business, as access technology, because it is giving access. Hey, we'll pivot to the hearing venture, but we'll still keep on making what we have. So we won't innovate in this space, but we will continue to function as we are. And I mean, I've tried many glasses, Patriots and this and that. And I live in Florida, so we have like Magnify America and all of these access technology companies. And they're basically just pieces of software, Android based, thrown on a piece of head-worn glasses, and they do miracles. And sometimes, to be truthful, they don't. And sometimes they don't work for us, or they may not work for a certain person. So, we just have to know the right questions to ask and be part of more communities. Because again, I think that's what we learned today is we get to learn from each other. So thank you so much.
Okay, everybody, we are at the end of our call. So I want to go ahead and end it now, but I will leave y'all on to ask more questions. So, cause we're at our 8:30 mark, at this time. So just remember, don't forget the Friday night movie. Space Odyssey, Friday night. Come and join. Don't forget the Ray-Ban Meta giveaway for December 21st. And our next meeting will be on December 18th, our last meeting for the 2024 year. So I thank y'all for coming and enjoy. Hershey?
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
This is Katrisa. Can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So what's the difference between the Orcam and the Meta Ray? You told me about the Meta Ray, so what?